So we're here now with Tom Woodruff Jr., an icon in special effects, basically in Hollywood.
Was? Was?
I introduced you.
Ja, natürlich, ja. Sehr gut.
So you're here to present your new movies called Harbinger and City Down.
That's right. Actually, Harbinger Down and Fire City. Two films that were crowdfunded through Kickstarter. One of them I produced and Alec Gillis directed, Harbinger Down, and the other Alec produced and I directed called Fire City, The Interpreter of Signs. The idea behind Harbinger Down actually came from a very bitter experience we had on the prequel to The Thing, in which all of our practical effects were covered over with digital effects that we didn't know about. It was never the plan when we started making the movie. The plan was that it was going to be 80% practical effects, 20% digital. And somehow something happened and it got completely reversed, and most of our work, if not all of the work, was hidden by digital. And we felt from the fans, we got all kinds of email and notes coming from the fans that thought that we were to blame, but it wasn't it's not in our ability to control that. So this is something that we could then get motivated and go back to the fans and say, you know what, we want to do our own Thing movie. We want to do it. It's like an homage to The Thing. It's The Thing on a frozen ship.
It's a tardigrade. His body must be riddled with
shit. But there are so many classic elements to it, right? That, like The Thing, or like Alien, or like any good horror movie, a contained environment, a small cast, a bunch of characters that are very believable, and you're suspicious of all of them, and of course practical creature effects, something that we can handle. And then in Fire City, the difference there was that was also a very small film that all takes place in one building, hallways and rooms, and you feel cramped and you feel like it's all kind of shut off from the rest of the real world, which this part of life is, this demon life that lives next to us without us knowing it. And that's all done practically with prosthetic makeups on our main actors.
This idea up for Fire City. I watched the trailer and thought, maybe, great, this is like Clive Barker's Cabal, or Nightbreed it's called in English. Yeah. In German it's called Cabal. And so many practical effects, it looked like a real comic. So how came this idea?
Well, the idea came to me, Alec wrote Harbinger Down, but I did not write Fire City. Fire City came to me by the producers and writers who wanted us to do the creature effects. And when we found out this would be the best way to do low-budget creature effects, because as a director, I could control how they were going to be seen and make sure that they worked on film, that another director may not be as devoted to making work. So with that, and the fact that I've been wanting to direct and have been directing small things over the years, but it all came about naturally, so I joined onto that project to direct. And I'm very glad to hear that, because that was the idea, was to make it feel, we keep calling it the genre, we call it demon noir, which we want, like Harbinger Down is a movie like The Thing. Fire City is a movie like Casablanca or Double Indemnity, or one of those old 40s crime thrillers, because it's got a very interesting story that's told from the point of view of demon characters.
There's bad things out there.
There's bad things here.
Will there be a Europe release for these movies? Or?
We don't know yet. We literally just finished these movies 2 weeks ago. The sales agents are now trying to sell them, and just the process of selling the movie is probably as much work as making the movie, but not as creative and not as much fun. So we're now just at the point where we're going out to salespeople saying, look at this movie, look how great this is, it's different, nobody's ever seen it, and we have thousands and thousands of people on our Facebook pages and a million views on YouTube that want to see these movies, and hopefully they will get the idea that there's a big audience out there for what we do.
So, as you said, you were before that you did small directing things, and this is one big picture of directing. And you were basically from the special effects departments. So, how was it for you, this experience to be a director? Where did you learn that?
Well, I learned. It's funny because you can learn so much from watching people, certainly, right? But in 30 years of working on movies with some of the best directors we've ever worked with, like Mike Nichols and Nora Ephron, who are not creature directors, but they're great storytellers. People like Bob Zemeckis and Jim Cameron and David Fincher, Gavin MacLeod. So many people over the years. And then there are also people that didn't understand how to make work what we do. And we learned more from the mistakes that directors made than we can learn from a director, because a director is a very personal point of view of a picture. And directing is something that both Alec and I had planned to do from the very beginning. It's just that once we started doing creature effects, we became so busy doing it. We suddenly didn't realize that the years are going by, and only recently, when things have slowed down, that we've been able to take advantage and say, you know, this is still something we want to do in our lives. And we've suddenly found there were a lot of people that wanted us to do it.
And one thing when I think about special effects, you bringing creatures to life, like Alien, like Predator, Terminator, all this stuff, or Goro from Mortal Kombat. Was there any point where you thought, okay, now we have the job, but how do we do it?
Sometimes we wonder how to make creatures work, right? But we've been doing it so much, most of the time we wonder how to do something different or something a little bit better. And recently we did a movie called Zookeeper with an animatronic gorilla. And people have done animatronic gorillas for years. And even before animatronics, there were guys in gorilla suits. But we wanted to do something that seemed more natural, like a real gorilla. So in addition to the way we chose to sculpt this character and articulate the face, we also created lip-syncing capability. And in the movie, which was a comedy, the gorilla needs to speak in English. So we programmed the lips to replicate the shape of sound. So it looks like the gorilla is actually lip-syncing. There was no CG involved at all. And that made the gorilla more of a character, because there's many scenes where I get to interact with Kevin James. So it's not just a gorilla that runs in and does something scary for 5 minutes. It's actually a character that has a start and a middle and a finish.
Good point. With the CGI, I think, how is it, for your own opinion? You got CGI on the one hand and practical effects on the other hand. Is it better when they combined?
Yeah, exactly right. If digital effects, CGI effects have become so big and so broad, and they are so sterile. Like, CG effects are something that you watch and you can marvel at them, and they are amazing. Good CGI is amazing. There's a lot of CGI that's not good, and it feels like CGI. Practical effects is smaller, right? And it's more like an emotional feeling that you get from watching something that feels real to you as a real character. But to me, between digital and practical, it should be in the middle, more towards practical. But there are so many great tools in the digital realm that we can make use of, like removing rods and controls and cables and being able to fix things or just add something here or there. I would never say it has to be one or the other. It should always be some kind of a combination. But the nice thing about practical effects establishing the look is that it's real. It's exactly real under the lighting and in the atmosphere and the entire environment with the actors. So it comes from a place of realism.
That was the reason why Aliens freaked me completely out. I thought it was real.
Yes, exactly right. And even so, if you look at something like Gollum in Lord of the Rings movies, right? Very real looking and very precise and beautiful articulation and animation, but you never feel like he's really there. And this to me is the problem, is that you can create amazing images, but there's still a lack of, many times, there's still a lack of realism.
I did some researches, and there was a funny story about Aliens we worked on. There was a really big problem. You did it right. The set department did wrong. Do you have any more stories? Yeah, of course.
We had a story on another Alien story. We built suits for stuntmen, but we also built a puppet alien from waist up, and he had like extra long arms and an extra long torso, and we mounted it on a stand with a wheel, and it's used. The only place I've seen it is in the medical lab when the creatures come down through the ceiling, and they're shooting and jumping and screaming. And there's one shot of an alien coming around a corner like this, and it comes around the corner. I'm sitting down underneath, in front, reaching up to puppeteer the head. And to make it look all slimy and wet, we use silicone oil. So put silicone oil on top of the alien, it would just keep dripping down onto me. So working and doing one shot and another shot and another shot. So my entire head was coated in shirt, coated in silicone oil. And after work that day, when I went home, I could not get this oil. I shampooed my hair for like hours that night, all night, hours, with soap and soap, trying to get the silicone oil out. It took forever to get it out, and it's only ever in one scene, so it's sort of a wasted effect. Another good James Cameron story. We had also, we had the aliens all ready for the scene where Michael Biehn goes up in the ceiling, right, and he brings his light up, he sees aliens crawling. Okay, so the way he shot his point of view, we hung the aliens up and they crawled down towards the camera, right? So they were on wires and their bodies hid the wires. And before we shot it, we had spent days painting these alien suits, and we shot with them that way. But because the inside of the ceiling was supposed to be so dark, Cameron wanted them darker. So he just grabbed a can of black spray paint and just sprayed them all black, all like 5 of them. And we just stood there and watched, because when he was done with that one shot, we had to repaint them all to make them work for the next day. But he's smart like that, right? He knows exactly what he wants, and he knew it's faster for him to just grab a spray paint can and do it than to explain to us, you know, what he wants. It's like, just do it and get it done.
And you still like him?
I love him, yes. I love his work, absolutely.
Okay. So, I think you're a fan of B movies, is that right?
Yes, big fan of B movies. It's funny, when I grew up, I just called them monster movies. And there's no real genre for monster movies. And I think the horror genre today, all of this horror genre, is different from B movies or monster movies, because I think horror now is more about blood and gore and right, and you know, and chainsaws and stabbing and knives and dismemberment, like torture. And I like this. I find this stuff interesting, right? And I like a lot of it. I don't like torture movies. I don't like torture porn, but I really much prefer monster movies that have monster characters in them. And yes, B movies, old movies, that's all I ever watched when I was a kid.
So we like experts in Germany, we say trash to such movies because they're like, yeah, trash. And what are your 3 favorite B movies or trash movies?
Oh, my 3 favorite, okay, very good. Okay, let me think. Movies that I will always watch whenever I see them on. I like the movie Freaks, which is trash, right? Todd Browning. I love Freaks. I love, and this is not the same as like I love Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein, but I don't think of those as B movies. But later, like Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, B movie, but not me. So yes, I like Freaks. I like Island of Lost Souls, right? The black and white with Charles Laughton, and what would be my 3rd trash movie? One-on-One with Robbie Benson. No, you have to look that up.
Okay, I do it.
One-on-One. No, my 3rd trash movie has to be a monster movie. It would have to be 20 Million Miles from Earth. 20 Million Miles to Earth. 20 Million Miles to Earth.
We watched it weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Ray Harryhausen. It's dynamite stuff. Yeah. Fantastic. And I believe, is Ray Harryhausen's collection of models now in a museum in Berlin?
I don't know.
Really? Find out. Go to Berlin. Find these models. See them. They're amazing.
I'm famous known here in Germany that I don't like Berlin. So I don't go to Berlin. I never was in Berlin.
You stay. Ich bin ein Berliner. Du bist ein Berliner. Yeah? Yeah, du bist? Yeah, no, but I may be wrong. I don't know if they're there or not, but yeah, I love Ray Harryhausen. Ah, good. Yeah.
Can you watch your own movies?
I can watch them if it's been many years since I've done them. If I watch them too recently, I kind of cringe because I remember making the movie. I think, oh, why didn't I do that? Why didn't I do that? And if they're older movies, they're to me they're done. I don't have to keep constantly thinking how I could have done them better. So I do like to watch them, but I don't really like to watch myself as much as watch other people because I remember, you know, having a good time making the movies.
That was a remarkable question for me. When you see now Blu-ray, DVD, there are lots of extras and you're a lot of extras in it. So can you watch these extras or do you maybe skip this part?
I don't think I've ever watched the extra, and I'll still buy the Blu-rays, right? Because I like the picture. But sometimes there's too many extras. I never listen to my own audio track, because I said it. I don't know. I will sometimes listen to an audio track if it's somebody that I really like a Ray Harryhausen. But usually Ray Harryhausen I will listen to, nobody else. And a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff I don't watch because I know how it's done, so it's not that interesting to me anymore. I'll sometimes watch my own because I'll goof around, you know, make jokes, but quietly so people don't know I'm making the joke, and then it comes out in the video. I go, they don't know what I meant. They didn't know what I was saying. So that's fun to me, but nah, I don't usually watch.
Do you have any lead plans for film students or young students who want to become maybe like you, a director nowadays, or maybe in the special effects departments, anything?
Yeah, sure. I think today, because like of these very cameras that you're using, right? It's so possible for somebody to be able to make a short film with just a director and a cameraman. And you don't need a whole crew, and you don't need to know how to operate a 16mm camera, and you don't have to work with film and send it to the lab, and you can do everything at home. You can buy editing programs for very little money, and you can do everything from start to finish. You can even just do it with one person, and that to me is what I find very interesting about the medium today, is because it's so immediate. It's almost like the idea that you have can be completed in a number of weeks, depending on the size of it. But the purity of that idea never gets changed. However, I do think there's something about working in a collaborative state for a feature movie. I would think there's a lot of times where ideas become better when their ideas are shared and people have a moment to be able to plug their ideas into it. As long as they don't destroy it, sometimes it can help. So I would say that, yeah, that's my advice, is to just make films, right? It's so easy. Make films, short or long or medium, and stay away from drugs.
Say no to drugs. Drug-free the way to be, yeah?
Yeah. Hugs, not drugs.
Oh, hugs. And I heard rumors that you are designing our creature.
I'm designing what?
Our creature from Trash. I heard rumors.
There are some secretive things going on that we can't not tell people yet, but absolutely,